From Washington, this is VOA News. Coming up, Korea tensions plus deporting Tamil refugees. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Norman. Anticipation of a possible North Korean missile test is causing tensions higher on the Korean Peninsula, with the United States and South Korean forces bracing for possible consequences. The joint forces on Wednesday raised the alert level to Watchcon 2, indicating a vital threat. U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel warned Pyongyang against making more threats.
North Korea has been, with its bellicose rhetoric, with its actions, have been skating very close to a dangerous line. Their actions and their words have not helped diffuse a combustible situation.
North Korea is reported to be in the final stages of preparing for a mid-range missile test. A previously untested missile could potentially reach South Korea, Japan, or the U.S. territory of Guam. Head of Syria's main Islamist rebel group, al-Nusra, has sworn allegiance to al-Qaeda, deepening a rift with moderate rebels over how to rule the nation if they topple President Bashar al-Assad. Abu Muhammad al-Ghalani made the pledge of loyalty to al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri in an audio message posted on militant websites on Wednesday. Head of the International Monetary Fund says financial conditions are improving in much of the world, but that differences are starker than ever between prospering and struggling economies. Christine Lagarde, speaking Wednesday in New York, said the improvements in financial markets have not worked in the same regions.
We are seeing new risks on the horizon and the legacy of some old risks that have not been completely dealt with. In far too many countries, improvements in financial markets have not actually translated into improvements of the real economy and in the lives of the people.
The IMF managing director described the emergence of three-speed global economy in which some countries, particularly in East Asia, are doing well. She referred to the United States, Switzerland, and Sweden as economies on the mend and said Europe and Japan belong to a third group that still has some distance to travel before recovering from the global economic crisis. Here in Washington, President Obama formally presented his 2014 fiscal year budget, which starts on October 1st. Mr. Obama calls it a responsible blueprint for middle-class jobs and economic growth. Here's White House correspondent Dan Robinson.
The $3.77 trillion budget is Mr. Obama's attempt to move closer to a so-called grand bargain he sought in contentious debt and deficit reduction talks with opposition Republicans. Mr. Obama said it represents an effort to get smarter about priorities while maintaining targeted investments to create jobs, grow the economy, and preserve programs important to the middle class, the poor, and the elderly. He also says it seeks to end what he calls short-sighted, crisis-driven decision-making.
We can grow our economy and shrink our deficits.
If approved by Congress, at this point highly unlikely, the budget would also replace tens of billions of dollars in mandatory spending cuts that went into effect on January 1st. Dan Robinson, VOA News, the White House.
Officials in northwestern Pakistan say unknown gunmen shot and killed a policeman and wounded another as they were protecting a team of female polio workers administering vaccines. No polio workers were harmed since they were inside the home giving polio drops to children when the attack happened. There's growing concern among rights activists that a group of Tamil refugees held in Dubai since last October may be forced to return to their native Sri Lanka, and their conditions could be difficult. Philip Walter Wellman reports.
19 refugees, including 6 women, say they were told by UAE authorities to leave the country by April 11th. They were among 46 Tamils who fled Sri Lanka in October, trying to reach Australia by boat. After running into trouble at sea, a Singaporean ship rescued them and brought them to Dubai. The UNHCR has recognized 39 members of the group as refugees. Third country resettlement has been found for all but the 19 thought to be at risk of deportation. According to Human Rights Watch, Sri Lanka is alleged to torture Tamils with assumed links to the separatist Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, or LTTE, including failed asylum seekers. Philip Walter Wellman for VOA News, Dubai.
An American cosmetic company, Air and art collector Leonard Lauder, is donating a $1 billion Cubist art collection to New York City's famed Metropolitan Museum of Art. Get more news at voanews.com.